Welcome back. Now let's look at those inflation numbers again, just released by the National Bureau of Statistics this morning. Now the headline figure declined to 11.14%. That's a 0.09% less from 11.23% recorded in June. That is representing 18th consecutive decline in headline inflation year on year. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index came down to 1.13% in July, down by 0.11 percentage points from the rate recorded in June, which was 1.24%. Now, this represents the first time month-on-month headline inflation has declined since February 2018. The percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12-month period ending July 2018 over the average of the CPI for the previous 12 months period was 13.95%, showing 0.42 percentage point from 14.37% recorded in June 2018. Our food inflation came down to 12.85% from 12.98% in June. Month-on-month food inflation was 1.40%, down from 1.57%. And we saw the highest increases in tubers, that's yam, potatoes, and also we saw increases in bread and cereals, fish, vegetable, fruits, oil, and fats. Now the CEO of Financial Derivatives Company, Bismarck Rewane, joins us now for a quick reaction to those numbers. Good morning, Mr. Rewane. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Tunisia.
Right, the numbers we're seeing still in tandem with your projection that inflation will decline further. However, we saw just a marginal decline of about 0.09% from June figure. Are you disappointed by this figure?
No, this is what we expected. So directionally, the consensus was right, but in nominal terms, numerically, it was off, but within the margin of error. So all told, what we are seeing is we have now got to the point of inflection. In other words, what you're going to see going on forward, barring unforeseen circumstances, would be that inflation begins to flatten out and begin to increase again. So this is the core issue. But if you look at it, of all the 5 parameters, 4 of them went decline, and 1 remained flat. That is rural inflation, rural-urban inflation. Why? This is because, obviously, the price of diesel kind of stabilized during the period. But if coming back to the basket that affects you, I, and everybody else, critically, we saw tomatoes actually decline by 40%, which is seasonality. They came down from 20,000 naira to 12,000. We saw Gari come down from 15,000 to 13,500, 10%. And we saw pepper go up. Pepper was the only one that went up from 14,000 to 15,000 by 7%. So I think that's important to note. But what does this mean for policymakers? Two things are important. One, if the rate of decline of inflation begins to slow, which is what we have seen, you said 18th consecutive month, but this last time it was only 0.09, which means that it is flattened out and more likely going to increase. The IMF has called for forecast that there will be an increase. We have forecast that there will be an increase in the second half of the year. So we are at that point. Policymakers will have to now decide, is it time to be proactive and move interest rates up so that you can tighten? Because one of the factors responsible is the fact that there was a growth in money supply of almost 2.79% annualized at 5.58% in the month of June. But remember that in the month of July, we had delayed FAC. We didn't have FAC paid for almost 4 or 5 weeks. And then we now had the FAC paid at the end of July and August, will come to about 1.4 trillion naira. So we are beginning to see money supply saturation. The average opening position of the banks have actually increased, some liquidity softened there. Therefore, the central bank might, at its next meeting next month, 4 weeks from now, may decide, subject to the inflation number that will come up in August, may decide to move proactively. I think that's what you're likely to see. But generally speaking, these inflation numbers are not bad from a policymaker's perspective, but there's a lot to unpack out of these numbers.
Okay, you talked about the fact that the inflation numbers are likely to increase. What factors do you think will drive these increases? And are we likely to see this increase happen in August?
Definitely. First and foremost, in August, you are beginning to see the harvest season, early harvest. So you are going to see some increase in supply. But this in August, you are going to see the effect of, first of all, the announcement of the youth corps, increase in salaries. There's election spending. There's a lot of financial, and also there's the pressure on the currencies begin to emerge. You see that the reserves have declined marginally, and what's happening in Turkey means that we are going to see a net outflow of international money from emerging markets. But let's roll back a bit and see what does this really mean. We have 3 states with the highest level of inflation. The 3 states are Kebbi, Rivers, and Kaduna State. But the 3 states with the lowest level of inflation are Plateau, Ogun, and Kwara. The difference between the high inflation states and the low inflation states is as much as 4%. The average high inflation rates were 13 were 13%. The average low inflation rates states were about 8.6%. So what is this telling you? It's telling you that there are some other factors that are driving inflation, i.e., herdsmen and farmers' problem, displacement effect, logistics, and all of these things put together. So 1, there's money supply growth. 2, there's election spending. And 3, there's herdsmen, farmers, displacement. So all of these things put together seem to suggest, and I can say that categorically, that we are likely to either see a flat line in inflation, or more important, we will see that directionally we start changing from going down to flat and then going back up. So this is the fear, and policymakers will have to take some steps, maybe in anticipation rather than in reaction to what we find.
All right, but we've seen the food inflation come down to about 12.85% from where it was. Isn't this supposed to be a cheering news?
No, okay. During the planting season, you see food inflation increases. During the planting season, as well as with the herdsmen, you had food inflation. Now we are beginning to see the early signs of harvest. But this factor is more than overcompensated negatively by the increase in money supply, by the election spending, and logistics costs, because we are beginning to see that even the price of diesel and some of the fuels are beginning to increase. So generally speaking, one cannot take away from the fact that money supply, inflation is a money supply phenomenon. Once you start seeing money supply increase and spending increase and fiscal deficit increase, the most likely outcome is that you're going to see an increase in inflation. Don't forget also that the base year effects are waned altogether. So we are the circumstances of 2017 and 2018 are very similar at this point in time.
Okay, now those increases were seen more on tubers, cereals, fish, fruits. Why do you think the prices of these food items went up during the period?
They went up because early sign of harvest and the end of the planting season. Now you are going to be seeing that. But don't forget, these products are perishable. So we've seen, even though there's an increase in the output of onions, we've seen onion price go up by as much as 70%. But look at the numbers. Tomatoes came down, curry came down, the yam came down, and vegetable oil also stayed flat. Now, this was July. When you go into August and September, discount the seasonality. Just build that in and factor in a weight for the money supply, factor in the weight for the election spending, factor in the weight for the fact that inflation expectations for wage increase, wage review, and all of these are beginning to play into the narrative. So state governments are beginning to pay out, election season is here. So generally speaking, we are entering an increasing inflationary environment, whether we like it or not.
Now, but these numbers we're seeing now, the food inflation coming down, the headline inflation coming down, what would that mean for companies listed on the stock exchange?
Yes, those companies stocks are sensitive to 2 things: 1, interest rates, and 2, earnings. If the inflation is declining and now begins to increase, it means the cost of their inputs are going to increase and their margins will be squeezed. Secondly, because liquidity is increasing and yet interest rates are not reducing, and credit to the private sector is actually shrinking, it's not going to be positive news for them. As far as I'm concerned, what they're going to be doing, all of them are going to try and issue bonds of CPs, outside the banking system to be able to capture the liquidity they require to build. So as far as we are concerned, we do not expect any changes in the stock market between now and the election, because foreign political investors are actually moving their money out. They don't care what happens to inflation. They don't care what happens to your earnings. All they want is that because of political uncertainty, they are going to be moving their money out. Now it has been worsened because of what's happening in Turkey. So the stock market is actually oblivious at this point in time to the rate of inflation.
Okay, so when do you think we are likely going to see food inflation drop significantly?
Food inflation is very seasonal. Like I told you, it's planting and also harvest season, but also the storage. So we will see food inflation come down, but not as significantly as we expected it to be, because we are also entering the period of election spending, wage review. And so when the demand for these goods increases, actually the prices will stop declining. And then we'll head towards Christmas, when the Christmas effect will come into place. So you have Christmas, you have election, and you have the actual decline of the harvest period. So do not, if you are looking for a very low food inflation, it's not going to happen very soon.
All right, let's look at core sub-index. It came down to 10.2% from 10.4%, with highest increases in cars, pharmaceutical products. Could you dissect this for us?
Core inflation is defined as inflation less seasonalities. So you take away the seasonalities, core inflation is actually what you look at. And so when you have core inflation at about 10.2, which is good, it means that you look at the treasury bill rate of a country. The average treasury bill rates today, 90 days, about 10.2, 10.3 primary, and then it ranges between 10 and 11 or 11.5%. At this point, you are still having positive interest rates. So that is the final straw. If once core inflation goes as high as the treasury bill rate, then the policymakers will have no choice but to increase the rate of the treasury bill rate. So at this point, it's what we call a sweet spot. It's at a sweet spot right now.
Okay, urban inflation recorded a decline of 11.66% from 11.68%, while the rural inflation remained constant at 10.83%. How would you explain this?
Well, what we see here is that rural and urban are about the same, right? So we don't have logistics issues. But let's step back a little bit. 2 years ago, Nigeria's average inflation was about 15%. Sub-Saharan African average inflation was at 11%. Sub-Saharan African inflation has now declined to 10%, and Nigerian inflation has come down to 11%. So the difference between African average and Nigerian inflation is actually only 1%, which is good. But if you look at the 3 countries that have reported inflation for July so far in Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and Zambia, all of them published an increase. So in Kenya to 4.35, in Uganda to 3.1, and Zambia 7.8. Only Ivory Coast actually reported 0.6. So Nigeria is very far away from the trend in Sub-Saharan Africa. Don't forget, we just recently signed, or we are about to sign, the African Free Trade Agreement, and the Nigerian president is now the chairman of the ECOWAS region and had meetings with the Central African region. So what's happening in Africa is also playing out in Nigeria, because we feed and also live on the African Regional Trade Agreement. So, Chimeze, the truth is that inflation numbers are not alarming, but we shouldn't go around clicking the glasses and celebrate it, because we're actually at the point of inflection, and inflation begins to increase, in our own judgment, in the next month or 2.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Bismarck Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. We'll take another break, and when we come back, we will look at the macroeconomy and the markets. Do stay with us.